And they tell people essentially that you have diabetes, you'll have it for the rest of your life, you might as well get used to it. But the problem is that that's simply not true. And it's actually pretty easy to prove it, because if somebody came up to me and said, I've had diabetes, I was told I had diabetes, I watched my diet, I lost 50 pounds, I cut my carbs, I cut my sugar, and now they took me off of my medication, I'm fine now. That's obviously true. You got to understand that type 1 diabetes has too little insulin. So that makes sense. You should give them insulin. Type 2 diabetes is too much insulin. You need to reduce their insulin.
So what do you do? What do you do if you're a type 2 diabetic?
Well, the thing is that it's a dietary disease, right? And if you're a type 2 diabetic, it's a dietary disease. It's a disease of essentially too much sugar. So if you understand it like that, then the answer is to get that sugar out, get it down. So the first thing you need to do is cut out all the sugar, cut out a lot of these refined carbohydrates, which are just sugar. So the breads and the pastas, right? So they're all chains of sugar. That's all carbohydrates are, chains of sugar. As you eat them, they get broken down into sugar. So if you have too much sugar, if diabetes is essentially too much sugar, you got to stop taking sugar. Otherwise, you're going to make it worse. So that's probably the first thing. You can do more exercise, try and burn it off. And the other thing that you can do is try to do something more extreme, such as fasting. But if you understand that the disease is too much sugar, too much insulin, then you got to say, well, if it's too much sugar, too much insulin, let's get rid of the sugar, let's get the insulin down. How am I going to do that, right? So the thing about the sugar, you can go on a very low-carb diet, a ketogenic diet, and that will get your sugars down. But it doesn't necessarily get your insulin down, because the proteins and the fats still raise insulin. Not to the same degree that carbohydrates do, but they still raise insulin. So you can get that sugar down, but you won't get that insulin down. So you can actually put people on various periods of fasting, because you're not taking anything. It's not simply low carb, it's low protein and low fat, right? It's nothing at all. So think about what's going to happen here. The body is not going to have anything coming in. So what it's going to happen is it's going to start burning that sugar. And that's perfect. That's exactly what we want it to do. It starts burning sugar. After it burns the sugars, your sugars come down. You don't have to take medications. You don't have to take insulin. After that, it starts burning fat. And that's perfect. That's exactly what we want to do. And there's always two questions that come up when you talk about fasting. One, can I do it? And the thing is, you have to understand is that literally billions of people around the world fast on a regular basis through their entire lives, right? So the Muslims, the Hindus, the Buddhists, the Catholics, almost every major religion in the world prescribes fasting. Not because it's super harmful, because it's very beneficial. And what happens during the fast is that your insulin levels go down. Perfect. That's exactly what we want. But so what we're doing is we're burning off all that sugar and getting it out of the system, right? As opposed to just getting it out of the blood, we're actually getting it out of the entire body. So the fasting does both things. It lowers the insulin and it lowers the sugars. The other thing that always comes up with fasting is it harmful? And this is what always comes up. Am I going to go into starvation mode? And what's interesting when you look at fasting is that studies of fasting show the exact opposite. You don't have less energy, you have more energy. So there are certain things that get activated when you're fasting. So growth hormone goes up, for instance, to preserve lean muscle. Then you'd start burning just fat. Adrenaline goes up to give you more energy. And you're fueling all that energy with fat, because you can measure free fatty acids in the blood, and they go up. So what's happening is that you're burning fat, you're preserving your muscle, and you've got plenty of energy. Perfect. That is like the perfect treatment.
Hey, I have a question. Do you ever get sleepy after you eat protein? If you do, this video is for you, okay? So let's talk about the conditions first. So excessive amounts of protein. Now, what does excessive mean? About a pound of chicken wings, right? That would be too much. A large, huge 12-ounce steak. But sometimes when you go to a restaurant, the portions they bring you, especially when you get to meats, are quite large, okay? They're huge, actually. It can go up to 12 ounces to 15 ounces, crazy. I recommend sticking with about 3 to 6 ounces because anything more, it tends to overload the liver. However, if you're a big guy, if you're active, if you're younger, you're 18, you could probably get away with a lot more protein, but just realize that if you go too much, it's going to make you go to sleep because it's going to raise blood sugars, okay?
If you're worried about dehydration, the best thing to do is pay attention to your fluid intake and how much you're sweating. Sweat allows the body to cool, so as dehydration sets in, the body will get increasingly warm and yet sweat less. Sweat also contains electrolytes, which are salts and minerals it needs to survive, like sodium and potassium. If you're drinking water on an empty stomach, it can be absorbed through the intestine and hit the bloodstream in less than 5 minutes. But if you've eaten, it can take as long as 45 and all the way up to 120 minutes to fully digest the water. Drinking water and or sports drinks during and after vigorous activity can help the body recover from all that fluid loss. Excessive dehydration is when things get really serious. As full dehydration sets in and the body realizes water is not being replaced, it's going to stop sweating, stop urinating, and attempt to conserve as much water as it can. This causes the blood to thicken, which in turn causes increased blood pressure. The heart has to pump harder to push that sludgy blood around the body, and cholesterol increases as the water is lost from cells. Ultimately, the heart suffers and chances of cardiac arrest increase.
What's up, YouTube? It's Kevin here, the Migraine Guy, bringing you another video in the product review series. Today's product to review are these Axon Optics migraine sunglasses. So if you're curious about why migraine sunglasses would even be something you should consider purchasing, go ahead and click this video link there to watch a quick explanation of some of the research behind why migraine sunglasses exist, as well as the way in which migraine sunglasses actually work. So the particular brand I'm reviewing today is Axon Optics. All of the information that I'm going to talk about is going to be listed in the video description below, so feel free to check out their product line and everything else that I'm talking about. So this particular model that I'm looking at, or that I'm reviewing here, is an indoor model, so it's designed to both filter out particular wavelengths of light as well as do a little bit more for indoor use. They have outdoor models also if you think that it's not so much indoor light that actually affects you, but more sunlight that affects you, then you'd want to be looking at the outdoor models. Now, between indoor light, fluorescent lights, computer screens, and your migraines versus outdoor light, sunlight, and your migraines. Fluorescent lights, as well as computer screens and television screens, are pretty well going to make any migraine I have worse. They're not going to trigger a migraine, but they do take a migraine that I have, maybe at the 3 scale, you know, on the 1 to 10 scale, it's at a 3. If I have to be in the presence of fluorescent light or look at a computer screen long term, it's going to ratchet up to maybe a 4 or a 5. So I know that about my migraine history because I've been tracking for a while. So those are my use cases. Those are my testing conditions for Axon's product. So what I would do is when I knew I needed to be on the computer for a long amount of time, what I would do is I would just put the glasses on before being exposed to the screen, and then I would continue to do my work on the computer. And what would happen is maybe 1 or 2 hours would go by, and I get migraines pretty chronically, so it's pretty frequent that I have one. And so typically they're in that 3 to 4 pain range. And usually after staring at a computer screen for a couple hours, as I said, it ratchets up. So by wearing the glasses, that was what I was testing, and what I noticed was that as I wore the glasses, my migraine didn't creep into the 4 and 5 pain range. It stayed static at kind of that 3-ish range that it was at before. Additionally, after doing that for a couple hours, I would slide the glasses up and then try to get some work done for the next hour or two on the computer still, and see if the glasses were actually preventing my migraine from being increased by the light. And almost every single time I did this, within about 45 minutes of looking at the computer screen without the glasses, I could feel the migraine starting to creep into that 4 and 5 range. And so I didn't want to wait the full 2 hours to see how bad the migraine could get. I'm not a masochist. So I'd slide the glasses back down, and within about another half an hour, I would feel the migraine pain starting to reduce actually back to its pre-existing level, back to that 3-ish pain scale range. And so, as far as I can tell, the glasses don't just work, they work wonderfully. Here are a couple things you can, or sorry, not justified, but is a triple-digit price tag avoidable? And there are a couple things you can do to actually reduce the price of the product. The first one's quite simple. All you have to do is go to Axon's website, subscribe to their email newsletter, as well as follow them on the relevant social media platforms, so Twitter and Facebook at the very least. And what you'll notice is that pretty regularly, not every day, but once a month maybe, they will offer discount coupons, 10% off, 11% off, stuff like that. And if you're looking at maybe that $110 model, just the lowest price you can get on their website, and then apply, a 10% coupon, that's going to drop the price down to $99. So now you're not triple digits, and they offer free shipping. So there's one immediate thing you can do. The second thing you can do, and this is going to be a little bit difficult for me to actually tell you whether or not you can do it, because you have to do some work on your own, but look into your insurance. Contact them, and maybe get some information from your doctor, maybe a recommendation from your doctor, and then for migraine sunglasses, and then call your insurance, talk to them, hassle them. Insurance companies might put up a good front. As a migraine sufferer, right, you have to occasionally wrestle with your insurance, and so I've been there. And insurance companies on the first couple of tries don't want to be flexible, but if you hassle them enough, very often they have billions of dollars. Very often they can come down or meet you just to shut you up. So be the squeaky wheel, contact your insurance, and see if there's anything they can do, even if it's just 20, 30, 40 bucks towards a pair of migraine sunglasses. Would take that with a coupon down into the $60, $70 range. And now you're talking about something that's pretty affordable, or if it's not affordable this month, maybe within 1 or 2 months you could save up $60 to $70. I'm standing behind this product. If you need to use computer screens like I do, these are game changers. I can work for hours without worrying about my migraine getting to the point where I need to stop doing any work and lie down in a dark room with an ice pack on. Is getting the 5 axes to the head rating. Woohoo! I was blown away, not only by that it worked, but how quickly it worked just by putting them on. I feel the difference almost immediately taking them off. The light feels very harsh and too bright, and then putting it back down makes the light feel softer and manageable. So it's a great product. Check their website out.
I'm going to talk to you about blue light blocking lenses, like the Uvex and Solar Shield sunglasses. And I'm also going to compare them to a couple of other basic sunglasses out there. So if you're looking to block blue light, which some people think can trigger migraine, I got these two that block blue light. These two basically polarized lenses by Polar Optics, and have an amberish kind of shade and another dark shade. And these don't block blue light from what I can see.
You got that right.
I'll show you that comparison. Here's the Polar Optics, basically dark colored shades. And as you can see, they're not blocking the blue light. Now we're going to take a look at the amber Polar Optics, and they're not blocking blue light. So let's take a look at the Uvex, and you can see they're blocking a lot of the blue coming off that display. And now let's take a look at the Solar Shields, and they do a really good job of blocking the blue coming off the display. Can't see it at all. In conclusion, the Uvex by Honeywell does filter blue light. From my tests, I can see that it filters blue light very well. And the solar shield. With also has advanced UV protection, according to what they say on the sides of these lenses. These block blue light or filter very well in my tests. So I think these work to filter blue light in the tests I've done. These other ones, from what I can see, these polar optics, they don't filter blue light, which is the light that possibly triggers migraines. The problem with these is that they're not polarized. So you get a lot of glare. Okay, the other thing about these two brands of blue light blocking or filtering lenses is this one with glasses on, they hit the lenses because they're curved, and these here, solar shields, they fit pretty good without hitting the glasses. So hopefully that helps you with your migraine prevention, and good luck out there. Bye.